Alright, in today's video, I'm going to be ranking some of the quarterbacks in the NFL in some tier lists. There won't be too much editing in this video, it'll just mainly be me yapping, and now let's rank them. Alright, starting off first, I'm going to place Aaron Rodgers in the bridge quarterback tier. Not because I don't think he's an average quarterback, but he came out and said it's going to be his last season. I expect Aaron this upcoming season to play anywhere from like the 15 to like the 20-ish quarterback. Alright, next up is Josh Allen. Obviously, he goes into the elite tier. I have Josh Allen on my personal tier as like the best quarterback currently in the NFL. So obviously, he goes in the elite tier. Alright, next up is Jacoby Brissett, and I would have to place him in the bridge tier too. I mean, he's holding out for a contract, which, hey, I understand completely. He's the only actual good quarterback, somewhat good quarterback on the Cardinals, so I hope he get his bag. But he goes in the bridge tier. Alright, Bryce Young, I have to place him in an average tier. It's like when Bryce Young is on, he could be in the elite tier, but man, he's too inconsistent, so he has to go in the average tier. Alright, next up is Joe Burrows, and I'll place him in the elite tier for now, but he could drop down to the could be elite tier. He just has to stay healthy. He's multiple seasons now not been healthy, so. Alright, next up is Cam Ward, and I'm going to do a little projection with this pick. I think he's going to be in the good tier for this upcoming season. I think with new offense coordinator Brian Daboll, I think he's going to be good. All right, next up is Kirk Cousins, has gone to mid tier. I think he's going to start a couple games for the Raiders, and then Mendoza is going to take over. I think he knows what he is at this point in his career. All right, next up is Dak, and I think he's in the could be elite tier. Last season, I think was arguably his best season ever, and if he continues, he might be in the elite tier next year. All right, Sam Darnold, next up. I'm going to put him in the good tier. I think he's a good enough quarterback, obviously, to win the Super Bowl, but I don't think there's anything truly elite about him. All right, next up is Justin Fields. I'm sorry, he has to go in the trash tier. I know it's kind of harsh, but man, I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback. All right, next up is Flacco. Saying he goes in, I'll put him in man. I think he's not a starting NFL quarterback. You really don't want him to start for your game, and maybe he could be a good mentor, but that's about it. All right, next up, Dylan Gabriel. He has to go in the trash. I'm sorry. I also don't think he should be in NFL. All right, next up is Jared Goff, and I'm going to put him in the could be elite tier. I think he's better than Darnold and currently Cam right now, but he doesn't really do anything exceptionally really good. He does everything just pretty okay. All right, next up is Tua. Man, not for the reason that he's old like Kirk or Joe, but I just don't think he's a good quarterback right now until he proves that he could be better. All right, next up is Herbert. I'm putting him in the could be elite tier too. I think he's better than Jared right now, but I think Dak is better than him. All right, next up is Lamar. I put him in my, could be, let me get up here. Not this, let me put could be elite too. I think he's better than Burrow right now because obviously he can prove that he's been staying healthy, but I don't think he's better than Allen. Next up is Jalen Hurts. I'm going to put him in the average tier. I just think, obviously, he can win the Super Bowl, but he just needs so much talent around him to be good. So maybe with new offensive coordinator and A.J. Brown gone, he could be good. Next up is Jackson Dart. I'm also going to put him in the average tier. He's shown a lot of flashes, but just need to see more from him. Next up is Jayden Daniels. I'm going to put him in the could be elite tier. Obviously, his rookie season was one of the best ever, but this last season he was injured, so maybe he could get back into it, maybe not. So I'm putting him in the could be elite tier. Next up is 9. I'm not going to put him in the trash tier like everyone expects, but I'm going to minimum have to go in the mid tier. Last season was basically his rookie season, so this season he's basically fighting for his job. All right, next up is Daniel Jones. I'm also going to put him in the good tiers. I don't know how good he's going to be back in since it's Achilles, obviously, but at minimum, I think he's going to be a good quarterback. All right, next up is Jay Love. I'm going to put him in the could be elite tier too. I think he's shown more flashes than like Cam, more consistency. His highs are really high. I think he just needs to obviously just play more consistent all around. Next up is P15. Obviously, he goes into the elite tier right behind Allen. You could argue he's the best quarterback in the NFL, but obviously after that brutal injury, you just don't know how he's going to come back. Next up is Malik Willis. I think he's a bridge tier quarterback too. The sample size, I don't think it's enough to make me put him into like the great tier. The good tier or the average tier. But hey, you never know. But that Dolphins team is kind of really horrible right now. All right, next up is Drake May. I'm going to put him in the could be elite tier too. Honestly, he's shown a lot of flashes. Was in the MVP conversation, but need another year to prove it. All right, next up is Baker. I'm going to put him in the good tier. I think obviously last season for like the first half, he was in that MVP conversation, but it was obvious he was injured and then his season just kind of tanked. All right, next up is Kyler Murray. I'm putting him in good for now. I think we'll see. I think him and Kevin O'Connell, I think they're going to be really good. But he just hasn't been proving he can stay healthy for these past couple seasons. All right, next up is Bo Nix. I'm also going to put him in the good tier. Obviously, you don't know how he's going to come back from that brutal injury in the playoff game. But if he comes back, he could, how he is, I think good at minimum. All right, next up is Michael Penix. I just have to put him in meh. I think he's better than Kirk Cousins though. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, and when he's healthy, I just don't think he's that good. Next up is Brock Purdy. I'm gonna put him in the could be elite tier 2. Yeah, could be elite tier 2. He's just good at almost everything, not really great at anything. So yeah, next up is Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if this is a hot take or not because some people really rate him, but I just don't think he's obviously an NFL quarterback too. I think he's better than Dylan Gabriel and Justin Fields, but not by much. All right, next up is Tyler Shough. Right now I'm putting him in the has to go on average too. I think that's rookie season. He's obviously, I think, the second best quarterback behind Cam Ward, but we just got to see more from him obviously. Next up is Geno Smith, Bridge. If you are a big Geno Smith fan or you're a Jets fan, you just gotta erase last season and hope. Last season was just horrible, man. Because they brought in Chip Kelly. Oh my goodness, that was a really bad decision. Just gotta erase that season. All right, next up is Matthew Stafford. I'm gonna put him in the elite tier, obviously. I think he's better than Lamar for this upcoming season, right behind Mahomes. All right, next up is CJ Stroud, and this one's really tough. I'm going to put him in the average tier for now, man, but he's got to prove that he can play good because he's far too inconsistent. All right, next up is Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to put him in the could be elite tier 2. I'm going to put him right here. If he plays like how he did the second half of the season, obviously by next season, he will be in the elite tier. He was in the MVP discussion, so it has to be. All right, next up is Diddy Watson. I'll put him in the mid tier. Maybe with new head coach Todd Monken, he could implement somehow Lamar play, but I just shouldn't really expect nothing for him. Finally, Caleb Williams. I'm gonna put him in the could be elite tier 2. I think he's better. Yeah, he's shown flashes. Obviously, his highs are really high, but just need to be more consistent. Obviously.